So, our final guest is coming up. Absolutely not final in any way, shape or form. Once a salon professional like many of you here tonight, a few years ago he put down the scissors and together with his partner ignited a sustainability movement instead. They were told it wouldn't work, as many of us are when we come up with a brand new idea and people say there's no way that's going to work. But now as Sustainable Salons, Paul and Evelina have done something pretty amazing. They're changing the way that consumers think about their next salon service, and it's having a positive impact on the planet and our local communities. For those who are new to the Sustainable Salons program, let me give you just a little bit of background because I'm not going to steal Paul's thunder at all. But Sustainable Salons specialises in collecting up to 95% of the salon waste bin and redirecting it all for reuse, recycling and repurposing solutions. But the best bit, 100% of the recycling proceeds are donated to Oz Harvest and Kiwi Harvest to help provide meals for those people in need. So give him a big round of applause for that. So Paul now spends most of his time inspiring audiences just like you in the waste management, hair, beauty, fashion, hospitality, medical and education industries, all interested in learning how to adopt a more sustainable and innovative approach. And I can tell you right now that lots of people talk about sustainability and they think it's just the realm of charities, and that's lovely. But I think why Paul and Evelina are in such hot demand is that they've changed this into a business model that is truly sustainable, and that's exactly why he's here tonight.
Sustainable Salons, that's right, hair salons. Sustainable Salons is an organisation aiming to recycle almost everything that's used in hairdressing, including the hair.
Our goal is to make sure that nothing is ending up in landfill.
But it evokes a passion in people that is contagious.
We're at a risk with the company trying to turn the tide.
The hairdressing industry in Australia actually goes through 1 million kilos of aluminium yearly.
We pretty much, apart from food waste, we recycle everything.
Prior to us, there was no other alternative for a salon to actually divert and recycle their chemical waste.
An estimated 400,000 kilograms of hair is cut off every year, and until recently, that all ended up in landfill.
It's exciting because we're taking something that is normally waste and giving it a beneficial second life.
Any money made from recycling then goes to Oz Harvest, a charity which feeds the homeless.
While they're a cut above the rest at the moment, the team is hoping more salons will follow suit. After all, recycling is one trend that's not going out of fashion.
Give him a big round of applause, folks. Paul Frasca.
Hello everybody, and thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm going to use this time tonight to talk yes, about sustainable salons, but more importantly, disruption. This is the key word today. Everyone's now talking about it, disruptors, and just how far disruptors are going today. But guys, what's going on out there? First, before I get into the green disruptive space, let's just first understand what is a disruptor. You know, simple ones that we can talk about today are things like Uber, right? Bunch of tech nerds, they had nothing to do with the taxi industry, but now dominate probably the largest space of taxi fleets across the world, and they're doing it just out of a computer. And it's not because they wanted to actually do this, they were frustrated individuals, and if anyone knows the history of Uber, these were guys that just couldn't get a taxi that they desired. That was it. They didn't care about the taxi industry, they just wanted a taxi that mattered. Let's talk about Airbnb. Bunch of tech nerds that just had an apartment, right? They had an apartment, there was a festival coming to their town, and basically all the hotels were fully booked, and there was people screaming out saying, we just need a room to stay. And they're like, geez, we need to pay our rent. Why can't they just stay here? Let's blow up a mattress and call it Airbnb. As simple as that. Disruptors within a space. And for the hotel industry, for God's sake, it was you guys that caused that problem because you forced everyone else out. And it forced then a disruptor to come into the space. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but what we need to get into now is the waste war, the Great War. The war that actually started here in Melbourne, the war on waste. This show from the ABC was so, let's say, bloody good. It got your attention, right? It got the whole country talking about what are the biggest issues happening in Australia today, and I bet all of you in here are pissed off. Fuck yeah. Pissed off, right? Yes, Evelina and I knew this. We studied for the last 10 years. We've been knowing a lot of what's happening behind the scenes, but for the first time, all of you had to realize what is really going on in Australia. It's a nightmare. Right now in Melbourne, do you know through the night, there are dozens of trucks driving up to Queensland to offload your waste into landfill? This is a reality. We had to be, thank God we've got an ABC to tell us this story, right? An ABC that told us a story that we needed to know, and now we're all woken up and we're pissed off, right? We all want to see change. We want to see that this is not going to happen. But there's a sad reality to this. Does a government listen? Let me share some stats with you right here. So, 500,000 voters were asked this question for the last nearly 7 years, and it basically says, how much should the federal government do to tackle climate change? 61% in 2013 said they want to see change. 61%. If we went to a referendum, we won already in 2013. In 2019, 81%, what Tanya was saying, this was a major political issue. 81% of now Australians want to see change. What does the government do? Well, we'll try to do our best, and next year, I'm really happy for all you green companies out there. You're doing good, and you keep pushing that good fight. But they don't listen. These numbers are getting staggering. Let's go to some youth right now. This was an interesting question, because when you talk to basically 15 to 35-year-olds, you've got to ask them this question. What do you give a shit about? You've got to break it down in terms, right? There is no surprise that sustainability, again, 95% of the youth actually said this matters to them so much. And what's really strange about this, and it's not always comfortable, it was above social equality, poverty, refugees' rights. These are serious issues, but sustainability is right up there. Tanya, look at number last. Look at the last one. They watch it, but they don't give a shit about it. Thank God. Right. So, how did we get here? How did the waste crisis actually get to this point? I think it's really good to give you a little bit of a history lesson at this moment about how is it we're actually getting to the war on waste and this problem with China and so forth. Well, let me give you this lesson, right? 30 years ago in Australia, we had an infrastructure. Did you know we had smelters turned on, melting our metals in Australia? We had paper recycling facilities right across the country. We had even plastic recycling infrastructure here. And then all of a sudden, China says, guys, the doors are open, send it to us. They weren't landfilling it. Let me make this very clear. Do you like this cartoon? They were not landfilling this waste. China was not doing that. In China, basically, in the last 20 years, they've had the growth that no other country has had in history. 90% of the world's products today are now made in China. So what they needed was resources to make those products. They opened up the doors. That's all of your waste, your recyclables were being sent over there. China was doing what we should have been doing, recycling it back into goods. And that's why you're seeing cheap goods today in Kmart's, in Targets, is because China was taking that waste and then turning it back into the products that you have today in those stores. But something's changed in China. They've become rich. In the last few years, and when I say last few years, in just the last 8 years, you know they've now got 350 million middle-class people now living in China. China has done something remarkable. And I always want to give China a huge rap for this, because when I go to China and see this, I'm seeing cigarette butts being picked up from the street and being recycled, right? You're seeing some remarkable things. You're seeing poverty changed forever. It's remarkable scenes to see, so do not think these negative thoughts. It was us opening up to basically saying, you know what, it's cheaper for us to just send it to China, they'll pay us for it, and you know what, we can shut down all the smelters and recycling infrastructure here and pretend to be green. Pretend to be green. Because guys, we still buy the products. That's the strange part. When you buy the products, that's actually sometimes the biggest problem. So what China was doing was basically doing what they had to do. They now had all these consumers now buying just as much as us, 350 million people. That's the whole of America now buying consumables. They now have enough recyclables to deal with the amount of resources they need to make our products, so they shut the doors. And now we're stuck thinking, uh-oh, we shut down the smelters. We shut down the recycling. What the hell do we do now? And that's what we're in right now. It's called the waste crisis, and we're dealing with it. So, green disruptors are now born. Because you're seeing this problem. You're seeing this huge problem now arise, the war on waste. It's woken us all up, but green disruptors are now coming thick and fast. Let's first talk, what does a green disruptor? Because Uber and Airbnb, you couldn't really call them green disruptors. They're disruptors of their own fields and their own industries, but a green disruptor is someone very different. How many green people do you know care? Pretty much every green person I know is actually a very caring soul. They care about plant life, marine life. They care about the community and things just like that. So let's look at the 4 key pillars that make up a green disruptor. First of all, they target a specific industry. This is really important. They solve a problem. Very important. Has a social conscience, care about the people, and then they provide a sustainable solution. Let's just handpick just a few, just to talk about some ones. I was supporting one already 2 times today. Who gives a crap? That's a bad joke. Basically, Who Gives a Crap is a Melbourne-based company that makes toilet paper, also in recyclable paper, but they donate 50% of their profits off to communities that need clean water. Brilliant company. How many people today are now buying Who Gives a Crap? All right? Kicking ass. Toilet roll companies, if that sounded right, they're now starting to take note of that. Another really interesting one, which is also a Victorian one, Green Collect. Good friend of mine, Darren, here in Melbourne, he has a system, so if you have an office space, he provides a unique recycling service right into your office space, taking things that you never thought of. He'll take all of those weird items out of an office space that you're like, can anyone recycle this? And then they produce it straight back into products just like this. And then they sell it right back to you. This is called a circular economy. You can then get those products straight back from them, and then you guys can start writing all your notes straight back into these binders and folders. Great company. Let's talk about one that I can't talk enough about. Tesla. Oh, you gotta love him. You gotta love him. If you don't know who Elon Musk is right now, you're living under a rock. One of the greatest people who's taken on one of the greatest challenges here on planet Earth is Elon Musk. He's taken on the motor industry. What has he done? He didn't just go and say, you know what, we're all going to hug trees and do all this. No, he just went out and basically said, I'll build a better product that's better to the consumer, and we'll let the consumer decide. He has 600,000 pre-orders of a Tesla 3 model, which has basically shook up the whole motor industry, and now everybody is talking about Tesla. It was as simple as just making a product better than his customer, that's better for the planet. He brought tens of thousands of jobs back to America, which is just remarkable, especially in a climate where all of it was disappearing. And then the consumer decided what they wanted to purchase. An amazing company. So, let me start talking a little bit about what we do at Sustainable Salons and what makes us a green disruptor. Because Sustainable Salons, it's not like we woke up one day, Evelina and I, and going, oh, I just can't wait to own a depot. right? You're like, it's people ask all the time, like, how the hell did you get into it? I'm like, I don't know. I just got pissed off. Evelina and I we're in Amsterdam, living in Amsterdam, and I'm like, Evelina came from the sustainability of the fashion industry, and I'm like, you gotta see all this foil going in the bin in the hair salon, because I'm a hairdresser, right? I'm like, look at all this foil, it's just crazy. And she's like, we can solve that problem. I'm like, can we? Can we really start to solve this problem? And that's really what we start to see, is to solve this problem. So for any of you in here that don't know Sustainable Salons, we look a little something like this. We're basically a very unique resource recovery solution to the hairdressing and beauty industry, and dog groomers now. How can you say no to dog groomers? It's the same as a hair salon, really, when you think about it. They got clippers, they, basically use shampoo, and yeah, it's a hair salon. Simple as that. And they're cuter, they don't talk back, no. So, they bark a lot, just like no. Basically, we're a unique resource recovery solution to the beauty industry. We reward our clients for being part of the program, and 100% of all the materials that come through our depots then go back into local communities and charitable programs and provide jobs to the wider community. That's the key. So let me take you through the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars that really defy sustainable salons is, first, we targeted specific industries. We didn't try to be the yellow bin, general, right? So general. You have to target. So when we targeted hairdressers, barbershops, beauty salons, and even dermal and cosmetic clinics, it's quite unique. And then, of course, pet groomers, they actually got really angry that they couldn't join. And he's like, for God's sake, we've got to join them up. They're so cute, So that's really how it came about. But that's how we targeted first. We're not trying. We get cafes and all these tattooists, all these other industries trying to call us, and we're saying, no. We just want to stay what we know best. So after that, we solved a massive problem. And to put that into perspective for those of you that don't know these stats, but I'm sure many of you do if you're a sustainable salon, but 68% of a salon's waste is metal. When we started the program, I was literally walking up to major waste companies and saying, hey guys, we've got all this metal, it's coming out of salons, why aren't you guys recycling it? And they're basically like, you loser hairdresser, get out. I'm like, what? I grew up, my grandfather was like, you collected the cans because you make the money. I'm thinking, is this guy nuts? I've got all this aluminium. I can sell it. I've got a big... Forget this loser. I'm out of here. Green disruptors are born. To give you some other really interesting stats, so we also service New Zealand there. Basically, they throw away every year 400,000 kilos of aluminium foil to landfill yearly. Another really interesting stat is basically hair, right? Hair, there's about 11% of the salon's waste bin is human hair, which no one had ever thought of before, how to solve that problem, which I'm going to let you guys know some of the great things we're doing with that in the future and where we're taking that. But basically, there was lots of weird items coming out of a salon that we needed to solve. And to be honest, this thing wasn't doing it for us. Let me tell you about the yellow bin. Who invented it? Right? When you actually go back and look at the yellow bin, it was just really created by a lot of companies that said, oh shit, we've got to put something in place because the local councils are telling us to recycle. So let's create a bin. So you basically had the landfill guys saying, oh shit, we better start getting in the recycling business because something's happening here. And basically they created this bin. And then they said, everyone use that bin. Everyone. When you give everybody the same bin, does it work? So first of all, it started in residential homes. And we all said, okay, it can take metals and paper, and then you notice over time it's like, no, we don't take that. No, we don't take that. And no, we don't take that. And before you know it, you're like, what the hell can I put in this thing? And that was residential. Then you start talking about small business. When we started looking at it for the hair salon, we're like, 85% of salons' waste could not go in there. They wouldn't even take the aluminium foil because they're like, that's contaminated. And I'm like, have you never seen the Terminator? It all melts into liquid, you fool. It's liquid. It melts at 1200 degrees Celsius. How can you not take it? They really just didn't take it serious. And that's where we started to really think. So we had to create something very unique. A sorting, processing at the source before it comes to the depot, because then we could really deal with the materials. So inside the salon, that's what you see today, right? We've got specific bins now separating the waste, right through to even the hair and even chemical waste. The association called Accord, which is like the EPA of chemical waste, was blown away that we even created such a program. They're like, nobody's ever figured out how to collect low-volume chemical waste and divert it away from hair salons, because I don't know if you know, hair salons use hydrogen peroxide in their salon, which for many of you, you've got to realize, this is a bomb coming into our salons. Hydrogen peroxide is no joke, and putting that back down our drains to go into our oceans is just not on. It's got to stop. It can't happen for the rest of our lives. And there's actually a very simple solution. It means just collecting it and getting it separated, getting it to us, and then we can actually recycle it straight back into water by centrifuging it and getting it turned back into water. Your hydrogen peroxide is 98% water. All you got to do is separate it so we can recycle it. And that's really key to provides a sustainable option now for salons. So the last part I wanted to touch on was having a social conscience. This is not something as a marketing deploy to us. This is built in. It's built in to the price of how we charge for the service. It's built in because it matters so much. These are jobs, not only to people that need those jobs, but also to the most vulnerable people within our community, which I'll be talking about. But some of the biggest programs that we now run, and we do this right across Australia now, is something very simple. Is a service that we already do right now, which is cutting hair or a beauty service, and now even a dog grooming service, where we can now get out and activate our members to be part of the wider community. We are now providing thousands of haircuts to the homeless and people in need right across the country on a regular basis, because this matters. And every time we take out a member, they just thank us so much. They say, that was so much fun. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to come again. And that's important because it's so simple to really do. So guys, the impact that we are creating today is huge. In just 4 years, we now have over 750 locations right across Australia that we're servicing. You know, we never even thought for a second that we'd get past 100 salons to join this program. And now we're at 750 and we're still growing rapidly and it's going so well. But guys, these are some really interesting stats now. We now have over 40,000 consumers every week going through a sustainable salon. And for many of you who I already talked to tonight, you'll tell me just how much you love telling the story to your clients, right? And you tell the story to clients like, what the fuck? You're taking my hair? You cleaned up an oil spill? What? You know, your clients talk, and then all of a sudden they talk, and it starts to move, right? It creates this unique way of communicating a message. And we've tapped into this, and we've realized a year and a half ago, we really need to start talking to the consumer better. Because if we can talk to the consumer, we can educate the wider audience, and we can drive some really unique propositions now to salons. And let me just tell you about a couple of those right now. One of them is we created this, a simple newspaper called The Green Chair. This started 2 years ago, and today now has over 500,000 consumer readership every quarter. What's that actually doing today? It's now getting over 2,000 consumers going through our directory every single month looking for a sustainable salon to get their hair cut. This is massive. All these new consumers are now starting to be like, you know what? This really matters to me. I want to go and support a sustainable salon like Tanya was saying, and basically go out and be part of that community now. It's not always sometimes about a brand anymore. It's actually about your lifestyle and your lifestyle choices. So this is really important to us, and we know just how much we need to drive it. So something also which is really unique, which I wanted to talk about tonight, is plastic recycling. This is probably one of the most complicated things we have to deal with. Plastic, it's messy. You know, when plastic comes through, we need to sort that into nearly 8 different groups. And honestly, once you start sorting out the plastic, you really need to know just how far you can take it with which recyclers. So we knew we weren't going to be able to rely on China anymore. So we wanted to focus on Australian plastic recyclers. One of those plastic recyclers that we work with is called Plastics Forest. This is a really unique example, and you're all going to be seeing this at Expo and later this year, and you can get it on now the reward shop if you're a sustainable salon, is products just like this. You're probably wondering what the hell it is. It's a bump stop. You know when you drive into your garage and you don't know where to stop and then you always hit the wall? Yeah, a bump stop. Fantastic. Can I actually ask, does anybody have this problem at the moment? You just won this. Hey, I've got another one. All right, come on. Throw up your hand. Who's the first hand I see? Bang, come and grab it. I got 2 of these. They're so heavy in my bag. I'm worried I'm going to get a fine anyway when I come home. So basically, these are plastic products today that are becoming a real reality of waste. Here, come, don't be shy. These are plastic products that are actually working today. They're consumable grade products. But look, Plastic Forest has been doing some remarkable things for already the past 3 years. They've been producing products such as cabling that's actually protecting our NBN today. making plastic also wrap that actually goes down in nurseries. Your plastic from the salons is going back into these products and then they can be repurchased again. Circular economy. But guys, we've got a cool one coming, a really cool one. No, I've actually got to read something, sorry. No. This, you've all been seeing, Dresden Optics, a very cool company. A cool company that's now working with sustainable salons. And what we're going to be doing, and you're going to be seeing this all happen towards later end of the year, is you're going to see your shampoo bottles and all your cosmetic bottles being now turned into glasses just like this that can then be repurchased inside their 12 stores across Australia. So consumers, thank you. I'm not giving these ones away. Everyone with glasses is like, me, no. But basically, this can be a reality. All you need is disruptors to want to come in and give a shit. Because when you give a shit, you want to make stuff, you want to do cool stuff. And these are the realities. So look out on the reward shop, guys, because you can all get these soon on the reward shop. They're going to be sunglasses first, and then you can also then pop out the lenses and make them your own special glasses for short and long-term vision, whatever it is. So the reality is looking good. Another really cool space that we're in right now, guys, and you've all heard about it, of course, is hair booms. How weird is this stuff, right? Honestly, when we started this program, we didn't know where it was going to go. So for any of you that don't know, yeah, we use your hair clippings, yes, and we actually put them into a product called a hair boom that can go out and soak up an oil spill. But let's get down to it. Evelina and I, we don't like just taking on a product unless it works. So we invest heavily with UTS. For the last 3 years, we've been putting our members' money inside the university to not only find out does this work, but to fully legitimize it so our government authorities can actually use this in the future. Guys, it is happening. We are making grounds. Not only are we making grounds within the hair boom and making this a reality, that soon hair clippings will actually be soaking up our oil spills. And just to give you some really unique facts on this, we are the most absorbent material on the planet to clean up an oil spill today, and now we have facts on that, and it's been published in the journals of UTS. Thank you. And please feel free, Google it, go online, go to UTS, you actually go to their scientific page, you can actually read all about it, learn about it from the students, and just see how far they're going. But guys, we have another unique thing happening in the hair space. We have actually something that we've been thinking about. Is it possible? Can you actually, because first of all, the hair boom is really good at sea, but they're not so good on land. So we had to think, is there actually a way of creating something more like a carpet of hair? Can you actually roll out a carpet? So we've had to really delve deep and look out. Is it possible to connect little hair fibers together and make it a mat? Well, guys, I wanted to show you tonight, the reality is happening. We now have hair mats coming to town. Guys, we have some great guests in here tonight, Joni and Philip, who have done some remarkable work here in Victoria to actually, hello. Guys, this might look weird, but is it? Let's put this into perspective for a second. I touch my hair, I love it. It comes off, you're like, ugh, fuck. Fuck. Oh, I love it. So nice. Isn't it weird, the perception of hair? Hair is amazing as a resource of the future. I always say to people, when you think of a sheep 200 years ago, they were looking at it going, what are you going to do with you? Now we've got Ugg boots. I don't see any of you complain about your Ugg boots now. You're like, I got 2 pairs. Big ones, short ones. Right? The realities are unique. What we're finding now and what we're doing with this research is we're now discovering how can we make this right. What you're seeing here is an extremely strong, that had little hair pieces together. It's felted together. So Philip and Joni have been working very hard and tirelessly, and I can tell you now, we've had some long phone calls, haven't we, Philip? Trying to figure out, can this actually work and how thick can we make it? And then we're passing this off to the university to then research it and find out, can we make this a reality? And to be honest, guys, this is going to become a reality. This will be like when you see a car accident, they'll then throw these hair mats on, they'll soak up the oil, they can take them off, they can put them then through rollers to squeeze out the oil. You'll be able to reclaim the oil, you know? And to just let you know how far this actually went, well, not specifically the mat, but the hair boom, we even got BP and Shell's attention because they wanted to invest in our students in the university, because when they heard that we could reclaim the oil, well, they're in business. They're like, we're in. We're green. I'm like, whatever. Get on board, because honestly, we need your help to also get this out into the market, right? Really important things. But guys, enough about hair booms and hair mats for a second. I want to talk about a really serious matter that means so much to us. Now, many of you who are a sustainable salon already know that we're investing heavily now with workers with disability within our organisation. So, up in Queensland for the last 2 years, we now employ people with disability right through the depot that are now doing the processing of all of Queensland's waste. It is so remarkable and so honouring to be doing this. Thank you. But guys, I've got an amazing announcement for tonight, because for the last 6 months, we've been working also on a depot here in Victoria. And I'm proud to announce Mambarin. Mambarin is also, just like Endeavour, an amazing organisation. It's great to have you, Brad, here tonight, because the work you're doing and is leading the team there at Mambarin, they are now processing all of our Melbourne's recyclable waste here in Victoria, keeping the jobs in Victoria, keeping the money in Victoria, and making sure we do the recycling in Victoria, right? That is sustainability. This is not just because we're trying to see it as a business plan. This is the way we need to think. Sustainable businesses have to think about local businesses, local jobs, and the planet. That's what makes life really important. To now move on to something which is really also, we've got a lot of things that are really important to us, but this one has just grown and grown. This is something that we knew was a problem, and as a hairdresser, to be honest, I didn't even know how big this problem was until we actually got really involved in this. And this is actually the ponytail trade. Sounds funny, right? Let me just put this into context first, because I actually like to call this the Paris Hilton problem. Paris Hilton, we go back about 15 years, she created a show with that Richie girl, and they did their great show, and it was all very funny, and no one really gave a shit about it. But anyway, right, they did this show, hair extensions were born. And it radically changed the hairdressing industry. But what it did is it drove all the quality hair into the commercial market, which meant basically people that had medical wigs couldn't afford to now get the hair that they needed for a medical wig because of hair extensions. And this is no fault of the hairdresser or any companies or anything like this. This was just a problem that was happening. But as a hairdresser, I was like, wait a second. I've been hairdressing for 20 years. I never even knew that this even exists. What the hell is going on? So basically, we opened up this whole conversation with a few organisations. We started off with Variety, and we said, what's going on out there? And they said, we've got a big problem. There are only, I said, but how many ponytails do you need with children with alopecia each year? They said, we need 4,000 ponytails. I said, how many are you getting? They said, we get 1,000 a year. I was like, what the hell? I'm a hairdresser. Why am I not sending one in? Guys, in just under 4 years, we have now collected at Sustainable Salons over 43,000 ponytails through our members. Thank you. It has become so crucial. Sustainable Salons has now become a lifeblood, because we don't sell this hair. And to also throw another funny fact, I'm sure some of you already heard this from me, but do you know now, because of Paris Hilton's problem, the Paris Hilton problem, I love it, is basically hair has actually become more valuable than gold per gram for this market. It's insane. Guys, I've got a little premiere of a documentary that has been put together, and it's actually been shown tonight for the first time. So guys, sit back. I know you've got your nougat, don't have popcorn, but sit back, relax, because I'm going to take you through the actual process of what we do at Sustainable Salons and just how much it can affect someone. It's a documentary called A Wig for Matilda.
When people normally see that I don't have hair, they normally ignore the fact that I don't have hair, call me pretty, comment behind my back where I don't know, or I just don't, or they just don't look, or they just stare.
When Matilda first started losing her hair, it was quite a big shock. I didn't know what was going on. A lot of doctors that we went to did say that it was stress related, but I don't understand the stress that she would be having. So I went to a lot of different doctors until I finally found the one that told me what even alopecia was.
Alopecia is when your body is fighting your hair follicles. So your body sends up all its white blood cells to fight them, and then it just pushes out all your hair because it thinks it's a foreign object and it doesn't want it.
It is hard, and it is only because it affects her in a way. Sometimes people in the street will look and stare, and not everyone knows what alopecia is, and not everyone is actually judging. They're just curious.
When I go to school, I sometimes wear wigs, but the longest I've lasted with the wig is till lunchtime because it gets too itchy. You know the hair that they have on dolls? That's the hair that they have on wigs, fake haired wigs, and that can cause it to itch on your head as well.
Matilda's getting a wig made, and I am so excited about it. I can't wait to start playing with her hair again, because I do remember doing some things even though she hated me playing with her hair because it always hurt. But this time I get to play with her hair and it's not going to hurt her head.
My name is Paul Frasca and I'm the co-founder of Sustainable Salons Australia. Basically, we take anything out of the salon that can be recycled, which is pretty much everything, and then we bring it back to our depots for recycling. So we collect everything from hair clippings, even pet fur, and we collect ponytails. Hair is actually more valuable than gold when you collect it as a ponytail. When we first heard about Matilda and that she had a synthetic wig, we felt it was our responsibility to make sure that we would provide some really good quality human hair over to a good friend of ours, Rachel, who actually owns a sustainable salon and is a wig maker, and she put her hand up straight away to want to make this wig for Matilda.
My name is Rachel Walker. I'm the director of Chili Couture, Pure Hair Indulgence, and Mr Walker's Wiggery here in Perth. Chili Couture was WA's first sustainable salon, and probably one of their proudest members. So I started Mr Walker's Wiggery because having hair makes women and men feel good, and I knew that I could help them.
I can't even imagine what it must feel like for an 11-year-old girl to wake up one day and to have clumps of hair coming out in the shower and then realising that you're actually losing all your hair.
So I wanted to make a wig for Matilda so that she could feel really confident and feel really free to be herself at school.
Yes, I am very excited to get a new wig from Rachel. I've never seen a wig being made before. It'd be really nice to experience, something I've never experienced before. You feel so pretty.
Hello! You must be Matilda, I'm Rachel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So the first stage when we make a mould of somebody's head, it's really important to do this correctly because no one's head is symmetrical, no one's head is perfect. They've all got different shapes and lumps. So it's really important to get that right because you want to have the wig fit really, really snugly. So when the first day Matilda came in, that's what we did for her. We took a mould of her head and we took her measurements exactly, which I then transferred onto the wig block and packed out with foam so that what I had to work with was like I was having Matilda sitting in front of me.
Looks like a brain with eyebrows.
When I got home from her yesterday, I made my head block with the mould that I made from her head. So this is the shape of her head exactly. And then what I do is I map out where all the netting is going to go. This is make or break on your wig because mapping out where it's all going to go and how it's going to mould around the head is really important.
So where does Matilda's hair come from? Well, it comes from a whole range of different sources. We have hundreds of people sending in hair all the time. Now when all that hair gets collected, it takes 20 ponytails to make one wig. The grading process of hair is really interesting because most people don't realise is that they all have to be put into separate groups, and it all really depends on a few factors. One is the length, the other is on whether it's coloured or not. And once we can determine these factors, well, we know the specific wig makers and charities that really need that hair and that we can provide it to them as quickly as possible.
So the second stage of making the wig really starts with drawing the hair. So you've got to sort through all of your ponytails, and then with Matilda's hair I made the wefts. So I hand made the wefts that were going to go into the back of the hair. To make a weft it's going to take me about an hour because I only work with very fine strands of hair, maybe about 10 to 15 strands of hair at a time. Stage 3 is actually all of the ventilating, which is hand knotting the hair, sewing in wefts, and the final wig construction. So when you're making a wig, one of the most challenging parts is ventilating. It's very repetitive and very painstaking, and it's the process of knotting a single strand of hair at a time into the Swiss lace. This took me an hour to do. I wouldn't even begin to count how many strands of hair. In a normal person's hair, there's around about 100,000 strands of hair on average. I think we do sometimes get pretty close to that with wig making, but it would be well upwards of 50,000 strands in a wig easily. A wig can cost anywhere between $2,500 right through to $25,000 depending on how much of the wig is ventilated. For an example, for Matilda's wig, I would sell that through at around about $10,000 to $12,000. There she is. I was actually nervous about Matilda seeing the wig. Every wig maker has a little bit of fear the day before handover. Will it fit? Is she going to like it? You've spent so much time on this and you've really poured your heart into creating this beautiful piece of hair art, and you really want someone to love it as much as you've put your love into it. Yeah, I was nervous. Oh, it was amazing. Seeing her really happy, the fact that the wig fit her like a glove, that made me very happy. And it's the culmination of all of your work. It's beautiful looking at something that you've created and you've poured your heart into and putting it on and seeing her just blossom. That just makes you feel so good.
I feel like I have actual real hair now.
I wish that Matilda feels normal as a teenage girl can feel, and has the confidence that every teenager has going out into the world, going to school, going to social events, and feeling like she's normal.
I like being bold because it's fun. I'm different. I'm not someone else. I'm not pretending to be anyone and I feel way more freer.
From what I've learned about collecting hair for medical wigs is the hair doesn't define who these people are. It just helps them get on with their life. It can take up to 8 weeks to make a wig. So there's a lot of labour that goes into actually producing that wig, but collecting the resource, which is of course the hair, well, that's a big part of it. And getting high quality can actually make up 50% of the cost of actually even making the wig.
If you're cutting more than 20 or 30 centimetres off your hair, people need that hair. For people who've lost their hair, it's really hard, and you might take it for granted that you have hair, and it might not be that important to you, but it can be really important and life-changing to somebody else.
Hundreds of people are cutting off their hair every day, and hairdressers, it's our responsibility to make sure that we can spot that hair that's been cut off that is of good grade and can be used on a medical wig. Honestly, hair should not be looked at as a waste product. It's our future resource.
you. Thank you. But guys, the real applause tonight, Rachel, can I please get you to stand up because we have the hairdresser in here tonight. Rachel, a huge applause. Thank you. Rachel has flown all the way from Perth to be here tonight, and we called her last minute saying, I think we've got the documentary ready, and she just jumped at the opportunity. Thank you so much. You did an amazing job, and we're so honoured to have you as one of our members in the Sustainable Salon family. Guys, it's time to get amongst it. It's time you all start to think is, what is it I need to do? How do I need to act? And with these simple words is please support a disruptor. But more importantly, be the disruptor. Inside you all, you are disruptors. You just got to find it within inside you and start to support those things that matter to you, because you'll be surprised, there are so many people in the community that need your support. So you need to be the disruptor. And like Aaron was saying before, Evelina and I, when we started Sustainable Salons, we wrote this business plan nearly 11 years ago. You should have seen everyone telling us, are you nuts? People don't give a shit. Like, they care, but they don't want to pay for it. We heard this all the time. And I said, no, I don't think that's right. I actually think if you do it right and you make the product well, let the consumer decide this. And that's what we did. And from the simple words of someone that I admire very much, it is simply this. When something is important enough, you will do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Guys, together we can make a huge difference. And to all the sustainable salons in here tonight, I can't thank you enough. Evelina and I are overwhelmed to even know that we got this far. Honestly, where can we be in 3 more years from today? Guys, the sky's the limit. And can I say, together we can make salon waste history. Thank you.
Brilliant, mate.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, just keep that hair mat away from my jacket, please. Mate, unbelievable stuff. And you've thanked so many people right throughout your presentation tonight. And obviously, Evelyn is a huge part of this.
She does the hard work.
But the two of you, I mean, you know, you've thanked so many people. How do you keep yourself upbeat and keep on sort of coming back for more and pushing ahead?
Oh, look, to be honest, the only thing that makes it really matter is when people actually sign up to the program and do it, because then it means we can actually then do what they're asking us to do. You know, because we put the product together for them, but if they don't sign up to it, we can't do it, and we can't live up to their expectations.
So you're only as good as your members, is what you're saying?
It's all that matters.
So you talked about where we're going to be in 3 years. What's next? I hate to ask you because you've just given us a list of 50 things that you're doing, but what's next?
Yeah, honestly, it's a really interesting thing, and sometimes I like to put in this perspective, and I said this recently, when I say recently, it was about 7 months ago to ScoMo, right? And he says, oh, you're that greenie guy, aren't you? And I said, mate, do you say that to the mining industry? And he says, what do you mean? I said, mate, I'm above ground mining.
I love
so honestly, think of us as the mining industry, and we're just going to collect everything above ground, and you watch, we'll build the future of tomorrow.
Paul Frasca, everyone, give me a big round of applause.